YouTube, what is going on? It's your boy APFC. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be speaking about some news that has been recently breaking that apparently we are planning a major squad overhaul and Arteta is planning to bring in two midfielders and one defender before the beginning of Euro 2020. Now, obviously, this is the ideal situation for most clubs, as we all are very well aware that tends to happen after Euro 2020 or any Euro or World Cup is that prices will skyrocket unnecessarily based on, I guess, for a few things, based on desperation for some clubs, based on a certain player having an exceptional major tournament, so his price may rise from like 30 million to 80, 90 million. I can remember something happening in regards to James Rodriguez. Sort of his price massively went up and he was at Monaco and had that good World Cup. But it looks like we're planning to get the business done early. All I will say to this one, I will believe it when I see it. Heard this many, many times from the previous regime, particularly from Ivan Gazidis. And let's be real, we haven't been well known for completing transfers early. The ones that I can think about before Euro 2020 will probably be June. It will be early. It will be middle of June. And the only transfers that I could remember to date, I tried to look this up but couldn't necessarily find them, was I think Podolski was signed quite early. We were linked to him very early on in the transfer window. We ended up getting him early June. We also got Kolasinac, I think, very early because his contract was running out, and we snapped him up from Schalke. Martinelli was one we got early, although I think that was still July. Granit Xhaka was another one. I think we confirmed maybe the June 30th or around that sort of amount, and we confirmed Giroud early enough and Lacazette, but that was early July. Euro 2020 is going to be middle of June. So Raul has indicated that Arteta will be back in the summer window. He did say that when Arteta first got the job. And yeah, I mean, let's see what happens because I've heard it all before. False promises, the promised land of the Emirates Stadium. We're going to compete with Bayern Munich. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. Most of it a load of crap. But I think this window is crucial for us because I genuinely believe that last window in some respects, sorry, I'm just going to go inside because it is raining, is this last window in some respects, we were doing a major squad clear out, and a lot of people, although the transfers that we brought in weren't necessarily inspiring in some cases, maybe Nicolas Pepe, but not the other transfers, in my opinion. It's almost like because it was Rail's first window, in some respects, he got a bit of leeway. But now that he's settled, now I'm settled back inside. This is sort of where he's massively going to get tested. I believe that if we don't see that ambition, if we don't see that investment into the squad this window, I think the people that don't believe that it's entirely the board will start to change their mind because for me, I'm on both sides of this. I see the point of people where they say it's the board because everything stems from the top, particularly in such a large corporation and a business, which that's what we are, not just a football club, such as Arsenal. It all stems from the top and it filters down to the bottom. I agree with that in some respects, but then I also see the other side of the coin as to when people say a lot of it's down to the decision making in respects to transfers and player selection and whatnot. Obviously, Wenger did a lot of questionable things when he was still here towards the end, playing people out of position, signing and giving the green light to players that, probably weren't up to the standards. Someone like Mustafi comes to mind, and letting players run down their contracts. I'm not sure as such how much the Cronkies would have to do with players running down their contract. As Wenger did used to say, it's ideal for us to let players run down their contracts. So this is a big test because Raul has talked the talk. He's been very confident in his approach in these sort of interviews or publicity stunts that Arsenal like to put out. This is this real opportunity to build from what he started. And this will pretty much, I think, this will be the window that identifies whether Arteta will be a success at Arsenal or will he be just like the other managers. To some extent, you could argue that Emery got backed in the last window because we did spend over 100 million. But from the other side of the coin, there was reports that came out just before he got sacked, actually, that Emery wanted I think he wanted Thomas Partey as his defensive midfielder. He wanted, who did he want? He wanted another centre-back and he wanted a different winger. He wanted Wilfred Zaha. I can't remember who the centre-back was. He got none of them. So, yeah, I mean, if that's true, it raises a lot of questions as to who's calling the shots. I guess the role, the structure of the club has changed now. Wenger was a manager, Emery and now Arteta are coaches. So they are more focused on the coaching side and basically on the training pitch side of things, not necessarily to do with transfers. To some extent, that's a good thing, but from my opinion, I think that the manager needs to be very involved in the transfer making decision, and we're really yet to see whether Arteta will be involved in that. I'm not really sure if Pablo Mari was, or Pablo Marie was a Arteta signing, although he did see him at City very, very briefly. I thought that was more of Edu. Cedric Suarez, I think, probably was a little bit more Arteta, but we're really still yet to see because it's still very early days in his career. And yeah, I mean, he is planning a major squad overhaul, and he's looking to bring in what was it, two centre midfielders, a box to box. He's looking to bring in a centre back, and there was one more that he was wanting to bring in. He wants to bring in a centre back, two midfielders, and a centre back. They're saying so. He wants a box to box. He wants a creative midfielder. He wants a centre back. Now, this is what I'm wondering regarding the centre back issue. Arsenal this season have signed three centre backs actually for a position that we have struggled with big time in the past. We've signed three. We signed David Luiz, we signed Pablo Marie, and we signed William Saliba, who went back on loan to Saint Etienne, but will be available the next season. So, with Socrates and Mustafi there, where does that leave our defenders and what centre back would he look to bring in? Personally, for me, my opinion, I would be breaking the bank on Nathan Ake. I think Arsenal should be taking a different approach in respect to going for Premier League proven players. We have tried these experiments before with players from different leagues. It hasn't worked out very well for us. Specifically with the defence, we've tried it with Mustafi. That never worked. We've tried it in many other different positions. When do we ever actually go for Premier League proven players? I mean, David Luiz, you could argue, was one, but he was at sort of he is in the twilight of his career, let's be real. But when do we actually go for Premier League proven players at the peak of their career? And I think this is an approach that we really should be starting to look to take. And this is what I'm going to go through as such of what sort of players I would like. Nathan Ake would be my first choice. I've done a video on him about 2-3 weeks ago when the window is still open. You know, obviously, Nathan Ake, he offers a lot. His interceptions are fantastic. He's quite quick. He times his tackles very well. You can argue at times when he does go to press players, because he's probably his biggest strength is pressing players so they're not able to face our goal. Sometimes he may get caught out of position in that respect, but you know, he's played us this year, and the last game that we played Bournemouth, he was brilliant. So I would be looking to break the bank on him. He'd be roughly around 50 million or so, I think. And let's be real, if Raul is backing his talk and he's going to get rid of some players, because apparently we're looking for a major squad overhaul, we should have the funds to be able to spend that money on a centre-back. I want us to see us go out there and sign a big player at the back for big money, because we don't do it. We only do it for forwards. We do it for that glamour signing, the glitz and glamour to sell shirts. We have not spent big money on actual players that would really finish the Arsenal jigsaw puzzle. I think a lot of this comes down to whether we have a big name leaving, because there is talks that we will have to let one of our big names go if we don't qualify for Champions League or perhaps Europa League. Who will that player be? Names are thrown around. Lacazette's one, Aubameyang's one, Ozil's one, with Aubameyang and Ozil being in the final year of their contract, Lacazette having 2 years. If I had a choice, I don't think we're going to sell Ozil. I think he will run his contract down till the end at Arsenal, and he will dig his heels in based on the money that he is. Obviously, we had the opportunity to sell him to Qatar. Didn't work out, so I genuinely believe we are stuck with him for the one last season. Then finally we'll move him on. I think it's going to be Aubameyang. Not that I think he should go, but based on the fact that he's 31, Barcelona are sniffing around. I said in my previous video, if they came in for 80 million last window, we should have taken it. I stand by that because that would have been huge money for a 31-year-old that's running down his contract. I would look to sell him next window, get a cool 30, 40 million for him, and I think reinvest that into more key areas. People could say you need to go get a striker to replace him. I agree with that in some respects, but I genuinely believe that I think Lacazette has the ability to turn it around because I think if he is in a better structured team where he has a better structure up top, particularly with involving the wingers, you'll notice Lacazette scores more goals and creates more goals and could be a key player for this team. I still got a lot of faith in Lacazette. In regards to the midfield, I think personally that we should be looking at a player like, obviously we're linked to Orkun Koku from, I think it's Feyenoord. I did have a look at highlight packages before I did this video, and he's not exactly a player that got me overly excited. He does a lot of things that a lot of other players in Europe do as playmakers, and knowing Arsenal fans, they're going to see this and hype him up to be the next Lionel Messi, perhaps. But the player that I think we should bring in at attacking midfield is either probably not James Maddison, because he's more of a box-to-box to me, but either Grealish, because I never really rated Jack Grealish to the huge extent. I thought he was decent, but he's apparently created more chances than James Maddison this year, a player that I love. I think James Maddison would be an excellent signing for us, but he's also got, I think, more goals and more assists than Maddison this year. I think that's a very good achievement considering Aston Villa do not have the strongest squad on paper. I think they're just above the relegation zone at the moment. He's been a key player for them for many years. I guess the criticism that you can have with him is that he's a big fish in a small pond right now. He maybe thrives off being the bigger name in a smaller team. Could he step it up to Arsenal and sort of, embrace that sort of new culture of being maybe not one of the main players? Only time will tell. But I think ability-wise, he has the ability to change a game. He can score from outside the box. He's able to beat players. He can put a through ball in. Still yet to really see his defensive work rate, but if he is a creative midfielder, you couldn't really do any worse in regards to defensive work rate than you are doing with Mesut Ozil right now. But the main player that I would like to bring in would be Hakim Ziyech, the player that last season got around, I think it was over 20 assists in the Eredivisie. I probably didn't pronounce that right. And the Champions League, he got around over 20 assists, which these were the numbers that Mesut Ozil fans used to wank over when he was playing in his prime. So I'm just going to have a look whilst talking to you guys because I saw Ziyech play a lot, particularly last year when Ajax had that fantastic Champions League run. He's an excellent player. He would add a lot of value to the team simply because he's able to not only play as a cam, but he can play on the right and the left side. He's able to drift in. What I've noticed with Ziyech, he's able to play those very delicate through balls through to the striker, something that we're severely lacking that Mesut Ozil is not offering right now, although he used to. He can beat a man, he has pace, and he's just a very intelligent footballer in regards to positioning and when to play the right pass. I am very, very surprised that we did not get him last window. I think that would have been the right decision. He's 26. I just think that last window we should have got him. I think he was in the final year of his contract. We could have got him quite cheap, only 25 million. Apparently, since then, to my knowledge, he has signed a new deal. But this season, he has got 6 goals in the Eredivisie in 18 games. He's got 3 in the Champions League. So, he does have goals in him as well. And I did a video yesterday in respects to goals from the midfield. We've got 1 all season compared to the average of 18 that we have for the previous seasons before. Ziyech would be my ultimate player this coming in next season. Will we go get him? We seem to never go for those players that is a clear and obvious signing that would strengthen us. So I'm not 100% sure that we'll go for him. Apparently Arteta is a fan of him, but I don't know. We're going to see because I think that, although we should be going for Premier League proven players, he is a proven player that is probably playing at a level that he is above. No disrespect to Ajax, but he is probably good enough to be playing at a higher level. 12 assists this season, I just looked it up in 18 games. And he got 4 assists in 6 games in the Champions League. Get this guy in. He would completely change the dynamic of the side. He will add more goals. He'll add more assists. And even if, for example, Aubameyang did leave, he would no doubt create more opportunities, particularly for Lacazette and also our wingers in regards to Pepe, Martinelli, whoever's playing there, maybe Saka. We need to create more chances because right now we're only averaging around 3 shots on target a game. A good quality attacking playmaker such as Hakim Ziyech would change that for us. Box-to-box midfielder, I would be throwing the bank at James Maddison. I think it would be unrealistic to suggest that we could get Ziyech and Maddison, but if we really want to take ourselves to the next level and be Champions League quality, James Maddison, I think, is one of the most talented players English players in football right now. I think he has the potential to be England's best playmaker, and I would even argue that he is England's best playmaker right now. There is no English player that can see a through ball, in my opinion, like James Maddison. There is no English player that has the ability to play consistently good through balls. He's a specialist playing with the outside of his foot. He can play long through balls. And he's had that experience of doing that because he has a striker like Jamie Vardy ahead of him who flourishes on that style of play, the counter-attack style of play, and that's how Brendan Rodgers has ultimately set up that Leicester team as well. James Maddison also puts in a good shift defensively. He's able to track back a lot, and I just think that when we initially sold Aaron Ramsey, I remember saying to a couple of friends, the player that we should get that's most similar to Ramsey that has the potential to be a lot better is James Maddison. Are we gonna get him away from Leicester? Probably not, but it's definitely worth trying. Apparently, Arteta is a big fan of him, and I would love to see a player like Maddison come in. I just don't think in England, in regards to English footballers right now, there's a player that has that vision, can play those sort of through balls, and can score those sort of goals outside the box. Some of the goals that he scored this year have been absolutely fantastic. Excuse me. There was one against Newcastle, I remember this year, where he pinged at top corner. There's been a few, to be fair. So, look, he's a key player for Leicester. It would be hard to get him away. I think he probably cost around the 100 million mark. Probably not that amount, but probably closer to that, maybe 60 to 70. Obviously, the English market is going to be inflated, but as I said, English Premier League proven players should be on the agenda this season. The real question is, at the end of the day, if we bring in those players, if we talk it up, who's going to leave? Because I'm going to do another video on that probably tomorrow in respects to 5 players that could leave next window. But if we do bring in, for example, a player like Ziyech and a player like Maddison, will Maddison replace Xhaka? Or will he play Xhaka next to Maddison, for example? Will he play a more anchor role and play a more free roam box-to-box midfielder that can get forward? Or will he play Torreira, a more defensive-minded player, next to Maddison so Torreira can screen and defense and Maddison can bomb forward? Personally, that would be my probably objective in that respect. So that's what I would go with. Obviously, Xhaka has been linked to a move away. Arteta convinced him to stay, but I do genuinely believe that there is still an opportunity that Xhaka could definitely leave at the end of the next transfer window. He's playing the best that I've ever seen him at Arsenal. Ever since he signed, this is the best run I've ever seen. He's giving an 8 out of 10 performance every week, so let's see what happens in regards to how he is performing towards the end of the season. And essentially, if we were to bring in a creative midfielder that Arteta wants, does that mean that it's the end for Mesut Ozil at Arsenal? Personally, I think, as I said before, he's going to run down his contract till the end. Will we be able to keep Ozil and afford a player like Ziyech? I'm probably saying no, considering our wage bill is ridiculously high at the moment. But yeah, it will be interesting to see because apparently if we don't get European football, we have to get rid of one of our main players, and maybe we might keep Aubameyang till his contract runs down, but perhaps take Ozil out, sell him, and bring Ziyech in because I think there's more of a need in regards to a creative midfielder than a striker right now. Even if we kept Aubameyang and lost him for free, something that I have been against, if we were to bring in a creative midfielder, it's not the end of the world because at the end of the day, we've lost that opportunity with Aubameyang to sell him for big money. The 80 million bid that apparently came in Barca was rejected. So, yeah, that opportunity's gone. So if we were to bring in creative mid, we might as well keep Aubameyang on the books, have him that one last year, sell him for free at the end. Probably we'll go to a lower league club after that, depending on how he's performing, and have Lacazette there. Will be interesting to see though, because I think we'll need to sell Ozil to bring in Ziyech, a player like him. As I said, in regards to defense, if Saliba comes in, and we just bought in Pablo Mari as well, are we going to sell Mustafi? I think Socrates was probably going to be first to go. I think Mustafi will be second, and that would leave us with Pablo Mari, David Luiz, William Saliba, and Rob Holding. I think he probably will keep Rob Holding, but I actually really am unsure about that area of the pitch because Socrates has been decent at times this year, but I genuinely believe that he's probably, and we'll find out more once Pablo Mari is available, he's probably going to play Luiz and Mari as the 2 centre-backs, at least till the end of the season. A lot of this will depend on how Mari performs, obviously till the end of the season, obviously until his loan expires. So, Yeah, that's all I have time for today, guys. I just wanted to do a bit of a discussion as to who Arteta would be looking to bring in, because as he did say, and I will summarize this, Arteta wants to bring in two midfielders and one defender before Euro 2020, and he's planning a major squad overhaul. This has been APFC. Hope you enjoyed the video, and subscribe if you're new. Catch up with you soon.